Eagles defense has been bad this year, especially in the fourth quarter. They rank in the bottom 5 in points allowed, third down conversion rate, and total QBR, and yards allowed per game. What's going on with this defense? Dan's here. Mina is there as well. Dan Graziano joins us with some news a little bit later on. We'll get to all of that. But let's go right back to that game, Dan. Mina, actually. How concerning was the performance of... No, I'm going back. We're going to do the defense. The coordinator change happened, Dan, and we didn't see much of a difference. What stuck out to you when it comes to that Eagles D? Yeah, really, again, poor situational football, and specifically defensively. If you go to the game-winning drive and some of the throws that Drew Lock connected both with DK and Jackson Smith-Njigba, just situationally bad. This is cover 2-man, so those defenders underneath are man-to-man, and those safeties are playing high zones. Now, the defenders underneath have, like, leverage-wise, they're playing off and inside. Why are they inside? Because those safeties are protecting anything really to the outside. Number one rule, those defenders cannot get beat into the middle of the field. Bradbury gets set by DK Metcalf. He sticks his left foot in the ground, completely wide open. He cannot allow that to happen. A little bit later, Bradbury's up at top. They're going to play single high, man. He's going to play off. Look at the difference distance-wise at the snap. Now, DK does an outstanding job of what we call getting on his toes. Seams inside and closes that difference within 7 yards. Look at the distance between Bradbury and DK at that point when it comes to how far off of he is. Game winner, Jackson Smith-Njigba. You're going to get that same thing. Drew Lock said, hey, if you get one-on-one, I'm throwing it. The safety comes down. Again, Jackson Smith-Njigba gets on Bradbury's toes within 7 or 8 yards of the snap. This is easy pitch and catch when it comes to NFL terms. And I just think in that situation, one, I was shocked that they played man coverage in that many moments because they've been bad at it all year. Two, there's no defensive line games or stunts to create rush. And three, Bradbury in all three of those situations just got beat in the ways that he could not get beat scheme-wise.
Yeah, you were highlighting some of the execution errors and then the fact that they played man. To me, the more glaring aspect of that was what was going on up front. The fact that you had Drew Lock with no timeouts, obvious passing situation. You should have an advantage, by the way, in the trenches. Like, we have complained about or not complained, but acknowledged the deficiencies in the Eagles' back seven all year. That's not new. The way this team is built, that front is supposed to be the strength. You got those young tackles in Seattle. The fact that they weren't able to affect him with the rush on that drive, to me, that was the most embarrassing thing about this for Philadelphia. And frankly, throughout the game, I thought they didn't get a sufficient amount of pressure, given the fact that that was their biggest advantage on that side of the ball. And
okay, I remember last year, they would run so many two-man stunts or two-man games. They would get into their five-man front. They would create so many one-on-ones, and then it would be Reddick and Fletcher Cox or somebody in Josh Sweat. I just don't see that this year. It's often like one-on-one rushes. I actually have two examples. Last night, one time they dropped Hassan Reddick into a deep curl zone. That was that completion that you saw early in the game. They once played him at defensive tackle on 2nd and 5. I just don't know what's going on with their defensive line.
Yeah, they used to, the first half of the season, they were getting a lot of pressure from the inside. It feels like that's tailed off a little bit. Jalen Carter had like one pressure in this game that was impactful. But when I think back to last year and all the depth they had on that defensive line, you remember, of course, Javon Hargrave being in the mix, it feels like they're a little bit thinner there this year. Yeah. They were counting on that young talent to step forward. They played well throughout some of the season, but it's not enough right now, especially given the fact what they have to accomplish to compensate for what's going on in the back end.
Yeah, well said, guys. Me trying to get through the top of the show was like the Eagles' defense not being able to stop Drew Lock there in the final moments.
Didn't go well.
But you know what? I'm going to turn it around. We'll see what the Eagles will do. As for their offense, Jalen Hurts pretty upset after the loss.
We didn't execute. I don't think we're committed enough. Just got to turn it around. It's a challenge that we have to embrace. Just continue to see it through. We just have to be better. I have to be better. Minimizing the mistakes, the penalties, the mental errors, just playing team football, and it starts with me leading that.
All right, so we know that Jalen Hurts was under the weather in some capacity, but Mina, how concerning was the performance of that Eagles offense last night?
Incredibly concerning. I'd say more concerning than the defense, because the defense, we can point to some issues with personnel. From a pure personnel standpoint, Philadelphia has so many matchup advantages against this Seattle defense. Your wide receivers against those corners, they switched their lineup. It was Michael Jackson and Trey Brown starting in this game. Like, that should be an advantage. Your offensive line against this pass rush, which hadn't been successful for much of the year, an advantage. Your tight end going against the spine of that defense, like across the board. There is no reason why Philadelphia shouldn't have been able to move the ball on every drive, and yet we saw a lot of the same issues we've seen throughout much of this season. The RPO game is less effective. It's predictable. You saw that with Seattle. The screen game isn't as well executed as it used to be, and then you got a quarterback who's forcing the ball downfield on early downs, ultimately leading to the end of this game. I feel like a broken record, but Dan, to me, like, this Seattle defense was the turnaround opportunity for the offense. Given how they stacked up against them, and to fall short is really a bad look.
MK, when I watch this offense right now, specifically last night, I think of it the same way I did the Bills 5 weeks ago or the Steelers all season long. I kind of have an idea of what's coming. When they get into 2x2, they're going to run the same RPO they run all the time. When they get in, Seattle knew it was coming. They were batting the ball away or running defenders to where they wanted them to hand it off. Number two, when Dallas Goedert's in 3-by-1 formation, he's going over the football. And then number three, when they get into empty and it's not in the red zone, they're running a concept that we call Hank, which is basically all curls. No one's really open. The defense knows it's coming as well. It's never in doubt with what is coming. They know, there's 2 or 3 things that they are going to do out of this. That's why they sit there and say, we have to execute better.
And I thought they would punish them for it when they were blitzing the nickel versus the RPO. I was like, oh, okay, next time around, they're going to see, they're going to call that again, see it coming, punish them in coverage, and then they just do not punish them for when defenses play off of their tendencies.
Yeah, after his 2 picks on Monday, too, guys, Hurts is up to 17 turnovers this season. That's not helping things either, and uncharacteristic for who he's been as a player, even back to college. Hey, Dan helped us avoid the NFL Live curse. He was the only one to take the Seahawks last night on the show, but he certainly wasn't the only guy happy about the results. Yeah, your daughter was probably mad at you.
Literally upset.
All right, well, Jerry Jones not upset. Here's Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on how much he enjoyed watching the Eagles lose last night.
It was marvelous. I watched every bit of it. I thought I was about to doze, and then when they made those 2 exciting plays at the end, I couldn't sleep till 4 this morning because of the impact that it can have on our year and our season.
He said he's about to doze. All right. According to ESPN Analytics, the Eagles are still the favorite to win the East. They have a 70% chance to win, thanks in large part to the fact that Philly just has the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL. They play the Cardinals and the Giants twice. The Cowboys have the 10th hardest remaining schedule in the NFL.